So we are talking about the movie Here Alone, directed by Rob Blackhurst and stars Lucy Walters. Now, Walters plays a character called Anne. Now, she is a woman who has been left to her own devices, surviving in the wilderness after the world has been hit by some type of deadly plague, which is essentially caused people to turn into zombie-like infected. And she's been surviving for, kind of a while out in the woods, living off the land. And she thinks she's pretty much the last person left alive until she happens upon two other survivors, a man around her age and a kind of a teenage girl. And obviously there's kind of like a little bit of unsure, are they going to be kind of like friendly or not? And obviously it's really the relationship between these three characters in this kind of like very trying times. And obviously it's looking about the sins of the past and kind of how they can kind of move forward and etc. etc. It's really a character piece over a kind of a zombie movie. It is, I guess you could class this as a zombie film, really, although they're kind of infected rather than the undead. But they really are in the background. It's not really about them. This is a survival horror, really against kind of loneliness first of all, and isolation, and then kind of really secondary to that is the kind of about the elements and the kind of survival in the kind of the wilderness, and then really the kind of the external threat of these kind of infected really takes, I guess, third tier. So that's pretty much a film. I would say this is, if you've played the video game The Last of Us, I can definitely see there's some sort of comparisons on there. This is a relatively low budget film. It's pretty much all set within this kind of like woodland area. So obviously the effects in regards to location shooting are all kind of exterior shots for the most part. We go into a couple of buildings from here and there, but not much. And the cast is very kind of small. But this is how you do an effective low budget film. You can keep it in these kind of locations, but still make it seem like you have this kind of like this big thing that's happening all over the planet. So I thought that was very, very well done. I want to say the performances as well were all quite good. I thought the characters, for the most part at least, were kind of quite well written. When the guy shows up, basically you're a bit unsure, is he going to be a threat? There are some hints that he might be, or is he going to kind of end up being okay? We've all seen Walking Dead and we know what happens when you meet a group of strangers on the road and stuff like that. So I thought that was quite handled quite well. The teenage daughter I have some issues with. I think there are she was written to be a little bit of a kind of a stereotype, and she has some kind of her own motivations that kind of are sort of happen throughout the film, without kind of going into spoilers, that I thought the other two characters should have seen. And as the film progresses into the kind of the climax of this film, I felt it kind of it let itself down a little bit by without going into spoilers, really, the way it all kind of turned out. At the end, basically the end sequence, its last sort of 15 minutes or so, really are an action sequence, and the kind of the ramifications of that are obviously felt right at the end of the film. But I didn't think that was handled particularly well, to be honest. But the rest of the film is very good. It's a great kind of drama piece. It's a very slow film if you want an action film. This really isn't it. And we barely ever see much of the kind of the infected / zombies on screen at any one time. So if you are, wanting a kind of zombie action film, this isn't going to be the one. But I do feel that they were treated quite well. I mean, we mostly hear them and they sound horrifying, and that's almost more scary than kind of seeing these kind of like bunch of kind of twitchy kind of affected running towards you. We hear these like horrific screams kind of across the woods and stuff like that, and they sound absolutely terrifying. Overall, I would say this is a solid kind of survival horror. It's a little bit slow for some people, I feel, and I do feel some of the character paths were a little bit obvious and kind of were maybe just kind of written because they wanted to move the story forward rather than how people would really realistically act. But overall, definitely worth a watch. I'll give it an above average 6 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Just leave me comments, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.